This is TWiT.
Apple and Google both have teamed up to work together to prevent lost item trackers from being used to track people without their permission. This is something that's been a little bit of an issue for Apple. It's been an issue for Tile. Google does not yet sell tags, right? But there's been a strong rumor for a long time, Andy, you cover Android and your material podcast, that they're going to do that. So maybe this is a sign that Google's going to announce something at Google I/O.
Yeah, and it's just long overdue. This is a valuable market. This is a device that people want, but there's just no safe way to market this thing. I mean,
Apple makes an Android app that works like about half the time, and you have to know about it, and you have to have it installed.
Yeah, I mean, this is both companies doing things, particularly Apple, doing something that's very, very responsible. What they're proposing is that they've already gotten together and proposed a specification that would be platform agnostic. It would just be a resource that anybody could put into anything. It's a proposed industry specification to help combat the misuse of Bluetooth location device for unmarked tracking. And it's basically it basically means that no matter what your alert system is, it will work with any compatible device.
Samsung, Tile, or AirTags, or whatever Google might announce. And it's built into the OS, iPhone and Android. And that's kind of what you want, so that if somebody's tracking you, just for people who haven't experienced this, I experience it all the time, it will pop up a message saying there's an AirTag following you around and it's not yours. You should know about this. Have you guys seen this?
Oh, yeah. It would be interesting. I read it. There are simultaneous press releases on Google and Apple's news sites, and neither of them answer a certain question about whether or not this common specification on both platforms would also extend the Find My network, so that now every Android phone is also helping you locate the Find My devices, which would in itself be pretty darn interesting. Because if I could also locate a lost phone or a lost Chromebook based on the fact that someone with an iPhone has recently passed by wherever I left it behind, that would be pretty slick too.
One of the things I'm kind of curious about, though, is that what happens if someone steals something of yours that has that AirTag? You don't necessarily want to turn that off. It's tracking them now because they stole your bag. Or what do airlines do when they just decide, they're going to turn off people's AirTags if they're, like I put all my cases all now have AirTags in them. And, I'm not super excited about the ideas of the airline or baggage or whatever deciding to turn off my AirTags.
How would they turn it off? You mean find them and take them out?
If it says that you're being tracked.
Oh, they would see it.
They would see it, and then they would,
like the airplane, put a little iPhone in the airplane. They could see all the AirTags in the
or the AirTags are all sitting there. They're all sitting in the bay when they go through, and I just there's I definitely see why you don't want to track people, but I think that what will end up happening is it'll affect a lot more people.
We'll see,
because I don't think that many people are tracking other people with AirTags. Yeah. So
there are better ways to do it. Probably
edge case. There's a lot of better ways to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an edge case, and I think when they solve that edge case, the less edge case is going to be valid reasons why there's a tracker that happens to be going along someone who took something from you, or a baggage claim or something else, and it gets turned off.
Right.
I think that that's going to be a more likely thing to occur than people actually tracking each other.
I'm actually surprised that airlines don't have Faraday cages in their luggage compartments, right? So I mean, you don't want anything transmitting out of the luggage compartment. I bet they do.
I don't think you see it. Once it takes off, you don't really know. So far, my experience has been, once it takes off, it doesn't, your phones aren't really getting anywhere.
Right.
They're just burning up battery trying to find something. Right. And so every once in a while, you'll see it appear. But overall, But overall, I think that when we're doing,
it's mostly when your bags are on the ground that they might want. Want you to know we've sent them on to Philadelphia.
Well, like a good example is we gave it to a shipper who's a really good shipper. I'm not going to name them because we like using them, but we have an expectation that I gave them 10 bags that had $250,000 of hardware in them. And I expect that to go to a warehouse. And when I looked at the trackers, I saw this little cloud that was at somebody's house.
Oh, that's not what you want.
And then it went down and it dropped stuff off, and that was fine. And then when they picked it up, they went to somebody's house again, and then they went off. But they obviously had spent the night at a house. Now maybe they put it in a garage. But I have to admit the shininess of that company little worn off, because I was expecting to go to some kind of secure facility.
No, all the companies now do weird stuff like that. In fact, I saw a UPS van out in the lot, pulled up next to a sedan, and the guy was taking packages off the UPS truck and stuffing them into the sedan, like filling up the back seat. And I thought, should I call the cops on this? And then it turns out that what they do is they hire these freelance, ununiformed people to do deliveries, and that's what's going on. They're taking offloading them, and maybe that guy decides to park his Buick in his garage overnight.
Well, it was less expensive than to send it by air, so I'm sure that they have a different way of doing it. But it was a guy, the guy with his van.
Yeah,
and it's a nice van when it showed up, and we filled it up with.
Yeah, see, there you go. It was just some freelancer.
Yeah.
Apple and Google said the features will be completed by the end of the year and implemented in future versions of iOS and Android. But this is the right direction anyway. It's kind of nice to see Apple and Google doing something together, hand in hand, arm in arm.
This is the last time we saw that Apple Google logo was, of course, when they did COVID. The
COVID thing. Yeah. And Matter, right? The Matter standard, aren't Apple and Google both in the Matter?
Yeah, I don't think they did a joint press release for that.
Oh,
right. They're both on board. They didn't develop it together.
Right.
I mean, I'm looking at the draft specification here, and it really does seem very thorough about the difference between making sure, basically, it controls like when the tracker should advertise its presence and when it should advertise its presence.
Oh, that's good. So they thought about this.
When should be? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it basically goes from case to case to case to case between, like, if someone has activated it saying that, hey, this thing is lost, please broadcast your location, versus someone who's trying to track. They know that I have an AirTag inside my bag, and so they can track me by tracking my location via that air tracker, or having an AirTag that doesn't belong to me that's been slipped into my luggage or slipped into my car. It does seem to be very, very thorough, and there's a lot of, as you'd expect, a lot of language about basically making sure that this doesn't screw up people's lives when they don't want to be bothered by it doesn't protect it. Sorry about that. It doesn't prevent the feature from working as it's supposed to work. Also doesn't cause problems for people who want this thing to remain silent.
I mean, I definitely think that it'll be interesting to see how things like airlines use it, because not only but other people have been able to tell the airline more accurately than it knows where our bags are. We've gone, FedEx couldn't find one of my bags, and I was like, it's in the LAX FedEx in the back corner.
That probably drives them crazy.
Like, here is, it's in the last little, like, I know exactly where that bag
Everybody knows now.
And I know there's at least one airline that sort of said, don't do it. And it's like, okay.
Lufthansa briefly said we were going to ban it.
Just don't do it. It's like, well, what are you going to do? And the same is true with this, which is, what are you going to do? You're not going to,
right.
Everybody, they're going to know that they're being tracked, and I think a delivery company is going to know that they're being tracked. I think that's okay. I would say, though, that the two things that are at cross purposes here do seem to be people who are trying to prevent thefts and people who are trying to prevent stalking, because those are similar profiles. So that's the tricky part. We just had it's even in our show list. The mayor of New York City stood up and said, we're going to put AirTags in people's cars and use them to stop car theft. It's
what?
Like, okay.
You're
but also,
someone donated 500 AirTags available for free to people to add to their cars, and the police are actually also recommending AirTags.
It's a terrible idea.
Yeah,
this is why we talk about people who run the government oftentimes are digital children, and they don't understand there are so many better ways to do this.
This is as bad as Adams, Eric Adams saying, I'm going to take my salary in Bitcoin, which, by the way, he quickly changed his tune on that one.
A lot of people I know refer to him as Mayor That Guy now.
That guy.
Right? It's that guy. But this is such a weird thing. But I mean, again, I get the impulse. My son, when he started riding his bike to high school, I mounted an AirTag in a undisclosed location in case it got stolen. Like, I totally get it. Even though Apple says this is not for tracking stolen items, it's for tracking lost items, and I know they say that, but that is at cross purposes. If they make this really good so that you know immediately that you're being stalked, it also means that whoever stole your bike knows that they are being tracked,
right?
And they can look for the tracker,
look for the AirTag,
and remove it.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. I mean, you just have to deal with those two things being at cross purposes. And I think in the end, trying to protect people will probably win. And I think that's the right call.
So the AirTags, there's 500 of them. How many people in the Bronx? More than 1 million. So 500 of you lucky people will get AirTags. NYPD Eric Adams said, the mayor said, that guy will not track the AirTags being given away. Instead, when owners realize their car is missing, they can notify police who will track the stolen vehicle with the owner's permission. How are you going to do that? I'll give you a login to my Apple account.
I'm so not.
And
I think that may just be don't take the law into your own hands. Call the police.
Well, see, that's the real thing. That's the real risk is, okay, now I'm going to add it to my Find My, and I'm going to go track that guy down.
Yeah, and that's dangerous.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay.
AirTags is a technology that has turned out to not be as revolutionary as we maybe hope that it might be. In a way that some technologies do change the world, but AirTags, I think, maybe not one of them.
Isn't there LoJack? There are ways to do this. That's what LoJack did.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are other tools for stalkers that are much more efficient than this.
Yeah, you can buy a GPS for less than an AirTag.
And for cars, yeah.
This episode of Tech Break is brought to you by ACI Learning. Audit, IT, and cybersecurity skills become outdated in about 18 months. If you run an IT, cybersecurity, or audit department, or lead a learning and development group, ACI Learning can craft an effective, affordable training solution to keep your team future-proof. Visit go.acilearning.com/twit to elevate your talent.